There is a moment in every life when you decide to rise, to stand taller than your fear, to speak louder than your doubt, to chase the vision that sets your soul on fire. This is that moment. And here, we walk it together with stories that awaken, voices that inspire, and truths that set you free. This is Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald, where hope has a voice, and that voice is yours. And welcome to the show, everybody. I got a question for you. Do you feel, maybe I'll ask Rochelle. Rochelle, do you feel burned out? Do you feel like you've worked so hard and you just don't feel like you can face another day?
There's been those times, and even still, I have many of those days, whether they're in order or whether they're not. And I think this is a perfect show to be touching in on exactly how to maybe help those days, because we could all use a little bit of help, don't you think?
I do, and especially when you have a burning thought in the back of your mind, which goes something like this. Why am I here? And what am I here to do? And stuff. And we've got a perfect guest for that. Would you like to introduce our guest for the hour today, young
I would
lady?
love to. We have Deidre Gestrin here with us today, and she has a website that is absolutely beautiful. If you want to check it out, it is called abundantwellnessessentials.com. And welcome. How are you today?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course.
You have been in education quite a little bit. You've got a master's degree and you're in psychology, and you've worked a great deal of time in the field that you're in. Tell us about what it is that you do, why you do what you do, and how you got to be what you're doing what you're doing.
That is a great question, and in some ways a loaded question, but I love it. Yeah, so I do have a master's degree. I'm a licensed mental health counselor. I'm also a certified health and wellness coach. So I've specialized in stress and trauma for the past 16 years of my mental health career. But I really pivoted and became passionate to help professionals and others overcome burnout after my third episode that nearly destroyed my health. Really caused a pivot in my passion and in what I feel like I'm called to do. And that's burnout's become a really hot topic, and it's kind of running rampant, I think, right now. And so I really want to see people not get to the point I did, and really want to see them be able to thrive in whatever they're doing and whatever they feel called to.
Very good.
Well, I got to ask you because I've worked with a lot of people and worked a lot of hours, and some of them go through burnout, but a lot of them don't recognize the signs of what burnout is until it's way too late. Can you give us some examples of some of the signs that people start to feel when they're beginning to go through burnout, so maybe they can avoid the whole thing?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think to preface that, we need to talk a little bit about stress, because stress is part of life. It can be good in terms of helping us accomplish stuff. But when we are going from one stressful situation to the next, that's where we're going to start heading into burnout. So as far as those signs, one, if you feel like you're constantly going from one stressful event to the other and you're thinking, when is this going to end? You're probably either headed to burnout or already starting in it. I think other things that I've seen in myself and other people, when you're starting to feel exhausted, right? You just feel like you have to push through. Two common signs that I have people pay attention to is if you're not sleeping, so your sleep's changed, right? That's always one of the first things we kind of put to the wayside when we're struggling and just have too much to do. And then the other one is if you have daily practices that help you stay grounded. So for me, that was when I'd get up in the morning and I'd have my morning devotional time, and then I'd work out. If you put those aside because you're like, I just want to sleep more, you're already in burnout, right? So it's those daily practices that keep you grounded. It might be, and there's a whole list. So I just want to kind of offer the top ones that come up the most, right? It's that exhaustion. It's that maybe you're starting to snap at people. And I would also encourage, if somebody close to you says, what's going on? Listen, because they're seeing something you're not. And when you're in the middle of it, you can't always see it.
Yeah. And I have to ask you, because I've seen kind of in the younger generation, this happens a little bit more, even for me. And when we think of burnout, we think of stop, like we don't have any energy, we have that exhaustion, or, we're drinking an extra 5 cups of coffee a day, or things like that that are trying to keep us going. But I've also noticed it in being like just this exerted amount of energy all the time. Like how you mentioned sometimes if you're even oversleeping, but then you wake up and you're right back into that mode of we got to go, we got to do, we got to have. And you don't ever really feel like you rest either. So is that also a sign of like over energized and kind of distracted in it? Is that a sign of burnout as well?
I would say yes. And I say that because if that's not your normal mode, right? And you said a key word, and that is if you're not feeling truly rested. So even if we sleep a lot, we might feel like we got too much sleep, but we might not feel that rest. And so that kind of jumping back in and really pushing hard and seeking that nonstop energy to keep going, that's really that fight or flight mode. That's our right, because our bodies don't differentiate between stress response and safety, that fight or flight. It is the same response in our body. It affects our nervous system the same.
Very good.
I gotta ask you, if somebody's listening to us and they want to talk to you directly, and they say, Deidre, I got a problem. My work week starts about 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock on Sunday afternoon because I'm going to work on Monday. And I don't really want to go to work on Monday. And I'm feeling really depressed or sad or stressed about the upcoming week. And so I don't sleep well on Sunday night. I'm sure you've never heard this before. I don't sleep well on Sunday night because I got to go to work on Monday morning and I don't want to go. What do you tell those people?
Yeah. So on that one, I'm happy to chat with people on that. For that, you can always reach out abundantwellnessessentials.com/consult, and let's chat about that. Because Kevin, I think you just identified another sign that somebody's headed towards burnout, and that's our work week does start Sunday afternoons. And if we're dreading it and we're not sleeping, it's not going to set our week up for success. Right. And I really hone in with a lot of people on, we got to work on that sleep. We got to have that quality sleep to be able to handle whatever comes, whatever we have to do.
Yeah. And I want to take it even one step further and ask you how you see people on the weekends. They're either doing all this extreme things that they never have time to do, this long list, or it's literally just shut down time. Nothing happens, nothing gets done. Is that kind of a sign of burnout too, is the weekend symptoms?
It is. For people who are, I would say, in extreme states of burnout, they're the ones who, when they're not working, they can't accomplish anything, right? You can't get off the couch. I couldn't get off the couch.
Yeah.
I couldn't hardly move.
Yeah.
And I would say that to the other side of that example, right? Those people who are trying to fit everything in that they can't do during the weekday, I would question if that's contributing, because our bodies do need a little bit of downtime, right? We don't need to be on the go 24/7, even though we feel the pressure to, but it will absolutely contribute, because burnout doesn't just come from work.
Yep.
I have a relative We'll just leave it at that.
Okay.
And they've got a couple of kids, and both of them work full time. And then, of course, the kids are involved with soccer and
Mhm.
basketball
Mhm.
and hockey and baseball. And
Mhm.
so you are going to work, and then you're taking the kids hither and yon to this place and that. And
Mhm.
not only do they get burned out, do the kids get burned out on a schedule like that too?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I would say that the human body is not designed to run on that kind of schedule, right? We are designed to kind of flow with our daylight, the natural daylight, not the artificial we have in our houses. And
Mhm.
kids are the same way, right? Age doesn't matter when it comes to our stress response, because burnout is our stress response, which is our survival mechanism, that fight or flight. So always being on the go, right, leads to things like anxiety,
Mhm.
lack of rest, physical ailments. And so kids absolutely can get burnt out. That's a lot. It's a lot for their brains.
Yeah.
Yeah. And for their bodies too.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and also going hither and yon and doing this and doing why is it, and we as a society expect so much of our women, that you raise the kids, you do, you keep the house up, you do, and you work either part or full time, and you don't ever have time for yourself. Do you advocate finding that time, and how do you carve that time out of the schedule that you've created for yourself?
I absolutely advocate for time for yourself, right? I mean, even if we just look at generationally, 50 years ago, women didn't function the way we do now, right?
They didn't
Mhm.
have to.
They didn't have to. They didn't have to always work outside the home, and now families can't sustain a home without it.
Mhm.
Um, and women, I think, are the ones, because they're nurturers. They're also the first ones to naturally put everybody else's needs first.
Mhm.
And we have to come back to the concept that's talked about periodically, and that's, if you don't take care of yourself, you cannot continue to take care of those around you, right? We talk about it in the behavioral health and healthcare field all the time, but I think that goes for anybody, regardless of what you do for work, regardless, even if you're just a stay-at-home mom, because there are some who can do that. You can't keep going without carving out that time. And so I think the second part there, right, is how do we carve out that time?
Yep.
And I think
That's a big deal.
it is
Yeah.
a big deal. And the hard part that I see a lot is people come to me and they see, Deidre, I want a plan. And when I give them some, what I'm going to term simple solutions, I do get this look like, that's all you want me to do? So let me preface that with, it's not always an elaborate plan. Sometimes it's the smallest thing we do for ourselves that makes the biggest difference, right? And so if it's a mom who's working full time and running kids all over the place, what do you do while they're at practice? Right? You can carve in some self-care time in that moment, whether that's walking around the field, right? You stay on site and go for a walk. Or it's these little pockets of time throughout our day. It's learning how to maximize our time, but in ways that are productive. And rest is productive. Self-care is productive. We can't separate those two.
Yeah. And I have to say too, even for men, this is perfectly valid because you see guys that are working and working and working and working and working, and sometimes they don't have help. They're single dads, and
Yep.
they think, "Oh, well, I'm a man, and I need to be strong, and I gotta have it together, and I've got to have a straight mind and know what's going on and control at all times." I would challenge you, even as women, give your man also the space to take what he needs to get out of that, because then he'll understand when you need that too, and that's where I think we fall short. Just in human relationships. And I know we need to take a break, but I'd love to ask you when we come back about how exactly you help people be in tune with their bodies and listening to the signs they're getting and what it's telling them so that they can find balance in their sleep and their emotions and things like that. Because it's very easy to sleep a lot and then not sleep very much. And I do it too. So I'd love to hear your tips.
Yeah.
And we need to take a quick break. But before we take this break, I just wanted to mention to the ladies out there who are married, to the husbands out there who happen to love football. And what I want to suggest to you is, if you want to keep your marriage together, don't ask him to take out the garbage during the game. He can do it after the game, but that may be, at one time I was working 60 hours a week. I had a day and a half off. My guilty pleasure was watching my football team play. And because my wife wanted to do and all this other stuff, it became a real bone of contention that ended up being I killed a door that way, and I won't tell you how, but we need to take a break. And Rochelle is here, and Deidre Gestrin is here. I think I said that right, and we are going to be right back.
So close.
Oh, I was just close.
Yeah, it's okay though.
Oh, thank you. She gave me leave.
Everybody has nicknames here, Kevin.
Yes, they do. Mine is I can't speak English. That's my nickname. So, host who can't speak English. That's me. We'll be right back. So stay with us, everybody. Here's another point to ponder by Positive Talk Radio. One man lost everything he thought to find him: his job, his marriage, even his confidence. At rock bottom, he realized the one thing no one could ever take was his will to rise again. Sometimes life has to break us open so we can discover the strength we never knew was inside. Remember, your lowest point is not the end. It can become the very foundation of your greatest comeback. And you are listening to Positive Talk Radio, where stories of hope come alive. And welcome back to Positive Talk with Rochelle, and my name is Kevin McDonald. And Deidre, I would love your opinion on that commercial, but before we do that, Rochelle, what was your question again?
Yes, I want to ask about tips, and that's probably going to take a minute. So share with us what you think about that. I haven't even seen that yet, and I'd love your feedback, and then we'll go into some tips.
Yeah, so to be honest, I kind of was coming and going from that just for a minute, just because I have some bright lights here. But I think, it's, I feel like that video, that kind of just connects to what we're talking about, right? We have to take care of ourselves.
Yep.
And that's what's important. And it's individualized, right?
Yep.
It's not a single plan for 20 people.
Yeah. And that's why I asked, how do you help people be more individualized with themselves and listen? Because it's so easy for us to hear other people. I need you, and I need help this, and I want this. And it's so easy to be like, okay, we just got to do this. I got to do this. And you kind of forget about yourself sometimes. So how do you help people be more in touch, in tune with listening to their bodies, and then kind of trying to find balance without making this like huge schedule change?
Yeah, that that brings up a couple points, and that's, we're not always in tune with our bodies to start with. Our focus is so external on what's going on out here around me that a lot of people don't recognize those internal shifts, right? And so you have to start taking moments to just check in with your body. So the most common one when we talk about stress, where do most people feel it? In the shoulders, right? They're doing this all the time. Yep. And so that awareness just starts with kind of doing a body scan mentally, going, where am I feeling some tension? What's off, right? Am I holding it in my shoulders? Am I not? So the more we kind of do those self check-ins, we're going to have that awareness with our bodies. So then we can create that plan. But that plan, again, is individualized. And so it's knowing what helps you feel rested, right? I know with women, there's a lot of conversation about get your hair done, get your nails done. Wonderful. But guess what?
Spend more money. That's stress.
Yeah, more stress than money, or the feel good that comes from that lasts what, a couple hours?
Yeah. And then you're back.
So
Yeah.
what about things like a candle, a bubble bath, a glass of wine, soft music playing in the background? Is that a good way for, well, I don't know, Michelle, do you like to do stuff like that?
Yeah, no, Kevin, that's perfect because that's what I was going to ask is if you do things that are in tune with your senses, like things like that, that's got to help a lot more and have a lasting effect, right?
It will help, because if you think about our senses, right? Our sight, sound, smell, taste, touch, that's how we take in information. So
Yeah.
if something triggers our stress response, where is it coming from? Our senses, which affects our nervous system. So, and we can use that in reverse to calm us. So things like candles, glass of wine, and bubble bath, for some people, absolutely helps, but it helps with that day's stress, right? So if we're talking about, let's say, a job that has high work demands, so this is day after day, right? It goes back to that person on Sunday who's like, I really don't want to go to work tomorrow and is dreading it. A bubble bath and a glass of wine is not going to help. So I categorize things that help once you have that awareness kind of into two buckets. So the things we're talking about, I put in the self-care bucket. Those are things we need to have like every day, little things that help, right? For some people, it's getting a cup of coffee from a coffee shop. Yes, that costs money, but sometimes that just helps, right? That little extra kick. So those are those daily things that we can do. We also have this bucket over here that I refer to as soul care. And these are the things that we can't necessarily do on a daily basis, but they really fill you up and last longer. So I'll give you an example for myself. I'm a country girl, grew up with the horses, and I've had a personal trainer go, wow, the horses are huge for you. Because they were. If I could go ride in the mountains or I could go to a rodeo, that would sustain me and give me that positive energy for a good week, right? But I can't go to a rodeo every day. I can't go ride in the mountains every day because I have work and life.
Yep.
And so we've got this soul care bucket, right? It could be, Kevin, you mentioned the guys who want to watch football. For them, that could be it, right? Because not everybody watches football every day, or it's going to a game live that fits that bucket. So we want to look at both. What can I do daily, right? I can just sit here for 5 minutes and just take some deep breaths. That can be helpful. But let's say weekly or once or twice a month, what can we fit in this other bucket over here? Those are the things that are really going to help.
And would you say that those are kind of the things that are like our hobbies, like, doing art, going on hikes, going fishing, going golfing, going to play a game of bowling? Because a few times we've touched on this, and your brain can be overloaded and burn you out without you even moving your body. So sometimes that's what you need as that reset that does actually calm you down, is the movement of going on a hike and putting yourself more in the atmosphere that makes you feel that, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's where that's individualized, right? Because
Yeah.
everybody has different hobbies.
Yeah.
And so it's carving time out. But I think another important part to that you mentioned earlier, right, is yes, we're not just talking about women, it is for men too, but it's that support. We're not going to recover or prevent burnout on our own. We actually get more sick the more isolated we are. But we have this natural tendency, right? I can do it all. I have to do it all. So I'm not even leaning on my support system who's standing here going, hello,
Yeah.
Right here, what can I do? We don't lean on
Yeah.
it, do we? So we
No.
have to lean into that too. That's an important part of the conversation, is good support around you.
Yeah. That's huge.
Yeah.
You mean there are people who actually get support for what they're doing and not the people that say, no, you can't do that. How are you going to make any money? How are you going to live? How are you going to do this? How are you going to do that? But this is my passion. This is what I want to do. This is going to fill my soul. Well, I don't particularly care if it fills your soul, but you've got to earn a living. And so keep your job and shut it down. Because there's people that do that.
There
And
are people that do that.
and some of these people even say, I love you, but I want you to shut it down because it doesn't suit me. I was married to such a person. It was the best 6 months of my life. But anyway, but that is an important aspect of that we as humans need support for what we believe in and what we are doing. How do you convince somebody in your work that is reaching out to others because this is a passion that they want to have, this is a thing that they really, really want to do, and they're looking for validation and support, and all they're getting is negative critiques? How do you help those folks?
Well, one of the first questions I would probably ask them is, have you explained why you need that? Right? Because when we talk about relationships, and we could go on a whole tangent on this, so I'll try and be cautious, but we think people need to read our mind and just assume they know why we're asking for something or saying what we need. And the reality is they don't, because they're not you, right? And in order for them to understand that, we have to explain it. So we do need that validation, but we need the validation of, hey, this is why I'm going to include this in my routine, right? I want to feel better and I want to sustain. And I think, some of the people you're referring to, Kevin, are people who probably are burnt out and have no idea why you would do self-care, right? Because they're so externally focused, they can't fully comprehend that.
Yeah.
But
So
it's
we have
good
to,
because it gives them the example, right?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And
They need
even
the
on the
example.
yeah, and on the flip side of that, it's the same way with people. Maybe it's different when you're telling people, "Hey, I do need some space, and I can't give and take all the time, and I need to give a little more to myself than I'm giving to you." And that's a hard conversation to have, but it's reality with some people. And um, how do you help people that are going through that too without causing the isolation?
Mhm. Well, it comes back to, um, if you're that person needing that space, right?
Mhm.
Then do you know how much space you need? Meaning time wise, right?
Mm,
Um, and then we talk about, how do you ask for that? Because just
yeah.
saying, not today, I'm leaving for the day,
Hmm.
that's not going to go across very well for anybody.
Yeah.
But if it's, I need one day for myself, can I have that? Right? Just need
Hmm.
one day. That comes across a lot different.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we have to put some time around certain things too.
Yeah.
Well,
Very good.
it's interesting. There are some people that this entire thing that involves chasing a little ball, and there are 18 holes, and you spend 3 or 4 or 5 hours doing it on a Saturday afternoon,
Uh-huh.
and you're doing it with buddies, and you're smoking a cigar, and you're chuckling and laughing about guy stuff. And there are people, I don't know if you know this, but there are people that are saying, you don't need to go play golf. You've got to mow the lawn. We've got stuff. Here's your honey-do list, and it's way too long. Should some people just back the hell up and just lets you go play golf occasionally?
I would say yes, and let me elaborate on that a little bit, right?
Bless your soul, my child.
What we don't always think about is, we are social beings, right? Humans. And so, yes, we need social to feel well, right? we carry the burden with other people. And yes, there are some people who need alone time to recharge, that introvert extrovert. But the reason I say yes, let him go golfing, is there is a difference in how a male brain and a female brain works.
Mm-hmm.
Males connect socially by doing something physical, such as golf. That's how they fill up socially. Women just need to chat. They need to talk about everything that's gone on and let it out, and then they've connected.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's and we need to take a break, but that's part of the problem, is that men want to do something physical and active, and women want to chat. And when women are trying to chat with their husband, sometimes it's like, can't we just do something physical? Come here, baby, rather than, you know what I mean? There's a disconnect between how we connect to each other.
Yep.
It always has mystified me how 3 or 4 women can sit for hours having a conversation about something and not get tired of it. And where guys are like, I already heard this before, leave it alone. I'm tired of it. So we need to take a break, and we'll be right back. And you have a book that's coming out that we need to talk about when we come back. So stay with us, everybody. This is just going to be, I don't know, a minute and 10. So stay right where you are.
You're listening to Brushwood Media Network, the best in syndicated talk, news, and entertainment shows.
Here are some points to ponder from Positive Talk Radio. You know, some say leadership is about getting the work done, about pushing forward, no matter the cost. But what's the cost of a team with no purpose? What if a single act of support, a single moment of genuine grit could change everything? What if leadership was a catalyst? Because true leadership isn't about being in control. It's about empowering others to find their purpose. It's about leading with passion and igniting the fire in everyone around you, creating a culture of teamwork and common purpose. A true leader finds this culture by enthusiastic purpose and team development, making each team member feel empowered to create, improve, and execute their tasks with genuine passion and a strong belief in the company's mission and focus. In other words, lead with purpose. And welcome back to Positive Talk. Rochelle is right here, and you just look beautiful today, my dear. My name is Kevin McDonald, and would you reintroduce our guest, Rochelle, so that I don't screw it up?
Yes, we have Deidre Gestrin here with us. We're about to get in tune with her book and learning about how that's been going. But check out her website. It is abundantwellnessessentials.com. And it is absolutely beautiful the way you have that set up and all the options that you have there. You do a ton of things that are helping people. Just one thing someone could work with you could change their life. And you probably have so many stories that we'd love to hear. But I also have to say, just from previously what we were talking about, is there has to be that balance. And I was thinking about that over the break because as a woman, you have to give your spouse or your man or whoever the time to have to themselves and their friends and other things, because they're probably going to be nicer if you give them that. Then by the time you ask them to do something, they're in a better space in their mind. But also for other people, you know, also don't take that for granted. It's not every single all day Saturday. You know, sometimes your spouse wants you to be home on a Saturday, and so being able to communicate that is huge, because that balance can throw off an entire relationship. But Deidre, I want to get into your book. And did you ever think you would write a book or be an author ever?
You know, it's a thought that periodically showed up. I think part of it just comes from working in the mental health field, right? Mm-hmm. People have made comments, or it's just kind of one of those next steps of how to contribute on a larger scale. But I always thought, because writing was never my thing. I was the math kid, not the language kid. And yet I did write and publish my first book, and pretty sure there's more to come at some point.
Yeah. So tell us about how that came into fruition?
Yeah, so that really started when I realized that I needed to pivot some from just doing one-on-one therapy to trying to help more people because so many people are burnt out. The book came from my own journey. So if you read the book, you're going to get a lot more insight to my own journey. I think I briefly mentioned at the beginning of today's show that my third episode of burnout, and there was 3 very distinct ones, but that third one nearly destroyed my health. And that's what my book is about. It's about where and what helped me come through burnout so I can keep doing what I'm doing, and that's helping people. Because at the place I got to, most people would have just given up on work altogether or completely changed careers.
Mhm.
And so it's really about my path, and it's really about how to create this, our dimensions of wellness. I talk about 7 dimensions, and how to use that one to create this life where we feel fulfilled and supported, and we can manage burnout from that. And it really just gives a lot of tips and insights to what those different dimensions are and why they're so important.
And the name of the book is Stress to Peace. Is that correct?
So that's one document that is an ebook I have. I also have an actual published book that's sitting behind me here that you can get on Amazon. But the Stress to Peace specifically gives you 3 main tips. Like, you work on these 3 areas, and I promise they're easy to work on. I don't like elaborate plans. I like simple. But it gives you those 3 main steps to really start to feel like you can get a handle on burnout, and implementing those. You'll notice a difference in 2 weeks. That's kind of the pattern I've noticed with my clients and the people I help, is small shifts, huge impact within about 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And the name of the book that's sitting right there behind you. I looked at your website and I can't find it. But
You
that's
can't.
okay.
It should be under resources or under book. I'll grab it.
Oh,
here.
well, show us the cover of that.
Yeah. So this is the book. It's called From Burnout to Balance. The subtitle is Unlock Your 7 Dimensions of Wellness to Create a Life of Abundance.
Cool. Can
That's
we talk
perfect.
about 1 or 2 of those
Yeah.
7 things?
We sure can. Any particular ones that might be jumping out, or?
What are the 7? Can I ask that?
That's a great place to start. So, well, we've actually been talking about one of them, and that's social,
Okay.
right? Social includes friends, family, all of those social interactions. So we've been talking about that one. The other areas, and the ones that, like the Stress to Peace ebook really hones in on, is more around the psychological aspects of our wellness, our emotional intelligence and health, and our physical body. So those are 3 of the other areas. And then we've got our spiritual health, which I really believe connects more to our purpose and why we do what we do as humans and in the different areas in life. And then we've got environmental, that's not always talked about. We've got multiple environments that impact that. And then I think that was 6. And then the 7th one is actually, most people have them as 2 separate wellness areas, but I've combined them. And that's occupational and financial. And I combine them because we really can't talk about one without the other.
Yep.
They are 2 intertwined. So those are the 7 areas. So any particular one that piques your curiosity more?
I would love to talk about, because this isn't part of my own story, is the spiritual aspect of it, because there's a point in time when you say, okay, I got the job, I got the dog, I got the cat, I got the wife, I got the kids, I got the picket fence, and I got all that stuff, and I got a couple of nice cars, but why am I really here? Because there's a deeper question that is involved with that than we typically hear anyway. As an example, when you're in a job interview, your prospective employer doesn't say, okay, so why are you really here? And what is your passion in life? That's
Right.
not a question that ever comes up, but it comes up and it rings in people's heads. And sometimes it's incessant until they begin to answer it. Has that been your experience with that particular thing?
Absolutely. And especially when I work with healthcare professionals in particular, it comes up all the time. And it really comes up because it is at that deeper connection of what is my purpose, right? And so let me give you a little bit of a personal example to kind of get that insight to what I'm talking about. And sometimes I kind of laugh at this, but this is part of my overall journey. And that's, I wanted nothing to do with the mental health field. And yet, I know, and yet it has been the best thing I've ever done. Yes, I have become burnt out in the field, but when I followed my internal leading, right? So for me, yes, that's my faith in God. For others, that's whatever you believe in, but that's where that direct connection of what is my purpose, right? And when I started following that path of like, okay, what I'm trying to do on my own is not working, I embraced, all right, let me see what this mental health stuff's about. I found that I was really good at that. It was natural to me. And I really enjoyed watching people thrive. But if I didn't have that deeper spiritual connection guiding me and pulling out where my passion lies, I'd probably be one of those people, Kevin, you're talking about that are sitting there going, what is my deeper calling, right? What am I doing? And so it's sometimes, yes, as a mental health professional, it's those day-to-day interactions, right? But if I try and go, what's the bigger picture? And it even fits now. I'm helping people heal. I'm helping people hopefully thrive in life and find what that connection is to them.
Would you say that it's fair? You're pretty much telling them that it's okay to surrender and not believe in everything you thought you knew about yourself, type of thing?
I think so. I think it's, it's that again, here comes that individual part. It's
Yeah.
an individual journey.
Well, to let it all
right?
go rather than to have that constricting, confiding, I got to have control. Because that's usually, I mean, if you're stuck in that space, you're not in an energy where spiritually you can hear the messages and see the things, right? I mean, me and Kevin always talk about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Because if you think about that control, I'm trying to hold on so tight that I'm trying to force something to happen because I think it's what should happen.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it's in that surrender, right? That path becomes easy to walk versus forcing it.
Mm-hmm.
But we try and hold on to this control because in our flesh, we want to know what's coming. We want the predictability. But we can't predict everything in life. It's not.
Damn it.
And I do have to say, Deidre, that Rochelle is one of those that loves to know what's happening all around her and what's going to happen, and kind of plays war games with herself on how this is going to work and what's going to happen and how this is going to all play out and all that kind of stuff, until she met me. And when she met me, I gave her one of the first things I did is I gave her the gospel according to Paul McCartney, which is let it be.
Let it be.
And she said, "What do you mean let it be?" Didn't you, Rochelle?
Yes, it was frustrating concept. It was a muscle I had to learn to grow. I didn't know I had in my brain. But it's crazy because I can sit here now in front of you and say, I almost will have I do have intuitive thoughts and things that'll happen that I know before what's happening. And I can kind of choose that by my energy too. Like we talked about going into the week and just being like, oh, here we go. It's just one more week after another. But what if you approached it with a different effect? You also have control in how you're already putting perception on something to be. So you have to take accountability for that. Because I used to be that person. It's not going to work out and something's going to go wrong. And yes, of course, it found its way to do so. And now when I let go a little bit, I'll feel somebody about to call me, about to text me. I'll get a feeling, don't go down that road, go down the other one. There'll be times where I'm delayed and I'm stopped somewhere, and then I see maybe an accident happen. I could have been involved in things like that. So when we slow down and let it be, it's the weirdest concept, I know. But it almost helps you start to see that things are happening for you, not to you. Right, Kevin?
Yeah. Well done, Grasshopper. Here, pick the marble out of my hand, and then you graduate. No, I'm kidding. But that in my world is so true, because I cannot, as an example, I can't control anything that anybody else does. I can only control what I do and how I respond, not react, respond to other people and their situations and what they are about. I still have problems when somebody gets mad at me, because I tend to get mad back. But that being said, because I'm still human and all that. But it's an important aspect. And when we get back from this break, I want to ask Deidre, is that a viable way of getting people to calm their ass down so that they don't go over the top with everything, especially stuff they can't control? Because that used to make me just crazy, that I could not control stuff, and then things would happen and I couldn't control it, and then that would make me mad, and then I would be mad at them because they should have listened to me, because I was right and I should have controlled them because they were. Anyway, it's a really bad place to go down if you are. What do they call it? They used to call it a control freak. What do they call it now, Rochelle?
Same thing. The new thing is crash out. When that's what I think of when you say that. You've gotten yourself to the end of every breaking point, and that's what the kids say is your burnout is your crash out. Is the same thing, and you can kind of, obviously see it when it happens, but we'll just call them control freaks, and we are human, Kevin. So I like that you said that.
I am so happy that we added another word to our vocabulary that kids are saying now that I had no idea about. But we need to take a real quick break. We'll be right back more with our fabulous guest, and Deidre Gestrin.
Gestrin, yes, good job.
and we're going to talk about her website and her book and all the things that she's done. And in parting, I just wanted to say this, if I could, real quick before I forget it, which is liable to happen because I'm not as young as I used to be. But it's for a professional person who went to college. They spend 4 years getting their bachelor's degree. Then they go and get their master's degree. And then they go and get their doctorate. And then they go and start working like in healthcare or any of the other things that, being a lawyer or something like that. And then 10 years later, you discover that you're working way too hard. Yeah, you're making some money, but you're working way too hard and you're not enjoying your life. And and then the question comes, okay, what do I do now? I want you to help those people that are trying to answer that question when we come back. What do I do now? And we'll be right back. The strength of staying kind from your friends at Positive Talk Radio. Kindness is not weakness. It takes real strength to stay kind in a world that often rewards anger, ego, and control. Being kind means choosing to act from your values, not your wounds. It means showing grace even when no one's watching. But kindness doesn't mean being passive. It doesn't mean letting people take advantage of your time, your energy, or your peace. You can be kind and still say no. You have a soft heart with firm boundaries. The strongest people I know are the ones who choose compassion without losing themselves. They've been hurt. They've been tested. And still, they choose to love and lead and to lift others anyway. Kindness is not about pleasing everybody. It's about honoring who you are and how you treat others, even when it's hard. So stay kind, stay human, and stay strong. And always remember this, be kind to one another because each other's all we've got. And welcome back to Positive Talk with Brachelle. She's right there. And my name is Kevin McDonald. And our guest today, Brachelle, is
Deidre Gestrin. Yes. So I wanted Kevin to be able to ask more about like you've gotten to this point so far, and a lot of people get there. Okay, let me just say this. I'm going in like a million miles. Do you also have experiences with people where you help them find the passion in what they're doing again because it's actually what they want to do, or is it most times that they just need to do something else along their path?
That's a great question, and I do help people find that passion again, right? It involves a lot of different things, and we've covered a lot of those things, and it's coming back to that spiritual connection and that knowing that inner self, as some people say. Because if we're not aware and we're not knowing ourselves, we're gonna just keep spinning, right? And we're not gonna have that passion. And that was even, part of my journey, and part of people I help too, is sometimes we just have to take a temporary step away and come back to, why am I doing this? Right. And I think that connects to something, Kevin, you said before the break about people who get into the healthcare field and then they're like, now what? Right.
Yeah.
Because let's be honest, it's a hamster wheel. We're just spinning. And sometimes it's, how many people can you try and help in a day? So there's not a lot of true human connection going on. And we lose sight of that. I think our healthcare system has lost sight of, why does anybody do what they do? Why do therapists become therapists? Why do doctors become doctors or nurses, right? And this could be said for most careers. And we lose sight of, why did I get into this? Because if I got into it to help people, but the systems are broken and pushing too much paperwork down on me, and now it's all about the paperwork and the numbers, it's hard to stay connected to that why, right? And so we have to come back to our why and really try and stay connected to it, which is something I help people with. But I think it also comes back to, what do I do now? And we've kind of briefly talked about it, or it's come up a few times, and that's called balance. And balance is an interesting word these days, right? I've heard harmony, I've heard integration, because the fact is, and I do talk about balance, obviously it's part of the title of my published book, but it's important to recognize that balance is not constant. So that's where that self-awareness and coming back to your why is in this season of life. So it might be, we're coming into the fall season, right? So this fall season, my balance might have to look one way. Or if you have kids in sports, during the sports season, my balance is X, and I reevaluate each season. But that's where we come back to, right? When we try to answer that why, it's, well, if you have balance, it's easier to stay connected to that why, because work can't be everything, especially when it's a broken system.
Well, and for some of us, my father was one of these. He was an executive for Nordstrom, and he worked 60 hours a week. Every week, he worked 6 days a week. It was retail, and so that was the requirement. And he sacrificed everything else and balance in his life just so that he could continue to do that one thing, because he felt like he had to. Yeah. And so when he retired, my mom said, what are you doing home? Don't you have someplace to go? Because he no longer had a job to do. And so it became it became a real different part of his life as he was growing a little bit older. Do you find that as when people are so fixated on one aspect of their life, they neglect the other aspects of their life, and therefore don't have the balance that they need to live a full life?
Yeah, absolutely. Right. And I think a correlation you can make there, and I think you did, is it really becomes prevalent what areas of life have been neglected when people retire from a career, because they don't know what to do. Right. Yep. Whereas somebody who works on having balance, having that self-care, having those soul-care hobbies, they know what they're going to do after retirement. They don't get bored. They don't get lost. But that also comes back to our purpose, right? Because our purpose can shift in life too.
And after you retire, shouldn't your purpose in life shift so that you can explore the things in life? That's why I think retirement can be so freeing, because now you can explore things that you were not able to do while you were working because you needed the paycheck. Now that's covered, hopefully. And so now you can do stuff of a different variety and a whole bunch of different things to find out what you really want to do, because 65 or 68, and trust me, isn't that old yet. And there's lots of stuff that you can do. Do you help folks when they get to that point say, you can help them determine what it is and to take steps to lead a purposeful life for them?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that goes regardless of whether or not you're still in the midst of the career, right? Thinking about retirement or starting your career. Those are things we can absolutely talk about, and they're important because it's recognizing and it's connecting all pieces of your wellness to live that full life, no matter what stage of life you're in.
Exactly. Rochelle, we're running out of time, so you're next.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for spending this time with us, Deidre. Again, if you want to check out her website, go to abundantwellnessessentials.com. Get in touch with her, / consultations if you want to do that as well, just to get an idea and talk with her. But yeah, thank you so much for this time. And I want to give you a moment to share any last thought to leave our listeners with for the day. And then any other things you'd like to say about your book or getting a hold of you and things you have going on.
Yeah. First, I really just want to say thank you for having me. This has been a very enjoyable conversation and so many different avenues we could go down. What I would really want to leave people with is it's not always an external fix. We just need to look within ourselves and look at small, simple changes we can make because we already have those abilities and skills in ourselves. And I would just reiterate that if you want to talk, I do offer a free consultation, abundantwellnessessentials.com/consult. And let's chat. But again, you have the abilities. You just need to do some internal reflection and look at what that maybe one simple shift is.
Perfect.
Because sometimes that one simple shift can become a cataclysmically good idea for you, and it can change everything. Do you agree?
Absolutely. 100%.
And it's
'Cause
okay.
that's
Change is good.
well, not only is change good, I don't know,
Also nice.
Rochelle, I got to tell you this. You can't stop change no matter how much you want to, because
Yeah.
change is going to happen. Everything's always evolving.
Yep.
So just let it be and watch. She gives me that look because I'm so simple that works for me. Does that make sense?
It does work. Weirdly, it works.
Yes, indeed. So, Deidre, I want to thank you so much for being here. We have really enjoyed our conversation with her.
Yes.
There's so much more in the field that you are working in and helping people live their best lives, that we can talk forever. So we'll probably have to do more if you're
Yes.
open to it.
Absolutely.
And before we go, can you please share both of your books so that people can go find those, and next time we touch base with you, they'll understand?
Yes. So the one is Stress to Peace. You can actually get that at stresstopeace.com. Made that one as simple as possible. The book, published book, you can find it on Amazon, From Burnout to Balance. It's got the little sunrise, sunset, whichever it appeals to you with the little key. You can find that one on Amazon.
Very good.
That is awesome. The name of the book again is
From Burnout to Balance.
From burnout to balance. Because everybody has burnout from time to time, but it's how you deal with it is ultimately going to be your success. So get the book and go talk to her. She can help you. And I want to thank you again for being here.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you for being part of Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald, where stories inspire and voices remind us of what truly matters. May today's conversation give you hope, courage, and a reason to keep moving forward. And just remember, till next time, be kind to one another because each other's all we've got.